Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Ursula Bailey, and on this channel we talk all about the exploration of consciousness. If astral projection, lucid dreaming, or spirituality in general is your thing, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button now. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the dangers of astral projection. Before I begin, I just kind of want to preface this video by letting you know that my truth comes from my own experiences. Believe it or not all astral travelers come to the exact same viewpoints, so as always, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. The best way for you to discover your truth is to experience the astral for yourself. If you are not already consciously experiencing the non-physical reality, then feel free to go back to my Astral Projection for Beginners video, and this is really going to help you get started on your journey. Unfortunately, there are a lot of fear-based misconceptions and misconceptions in general around astral projection. And one of those misconceptions is the idea that astral projection is dangerous. Now, the majority of people who kind of peddle this false information usually have no experience with astral projection themselves, and it's kind of a shame that this kind of fear-mongering happens within the astral projection community, because really the only thing to fear is fear itself. You don't protect people by spreading fear-based misconceptions. In fact, you kind of do the opposite. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the astral is all rainbows and butterflies. It's not. But from my experience, the rainbows and butterflies far outweigh anything negative that you could experience. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so let's go back to the question, which is astral projection dangerous? And the answer is yes and no. No, in that nothing can physically harm you. You're not gonna die, unless of course you are already coming to the end of your time and it just so happens that you pass in your sleep. Perhaps you astral project at the time, but if this was the case, it wouldn't be the astral projection itself that caused death. So nothing can physically harm you. Now, you could experience some kind of psychic or psychological attack, but if that was to happen, it would almost always come down to your own psyche and what you are bringing in to the experience. So you're never going to take anything negative back with you, but you can take negative energy into the astral. What I mean by this is that reality in itself really is just one big manifestation, and everything that existed first through conscious thought and emotion. I often say that this physical reality is a projection point in itself. So somewhere along the line, the wider reality system, or source, or the universe, or God, whatever you want to call it, decided to split off, fragment, and essentially experience itself through each individual unit of consciousness. So everything that exists was first created within the mind, within the larger consciousness system. And when I say that, I don't mean your mind specifically, although you are a part of that, but what I'm really talking about is the greater mind, the mind of all minds. And because you are a fragment of source, that means that you also have that same creative power. You are a creator being. You are essentially manifesting within the manifestation. Now, within the physical reality, we as a collective have put certain limitations in place for the purpose of experience and expansion. However, when you cross through to the non-physical, those same limitations no longer apply. So if you bring negative energy with you over to the astral, then don't be surprised if you manifest a negative experience. In that regard, if you experience a psychic attack within the astral, you're pretty much psychically attacking yourself. So you're bringing this negative energy into the experience, and that will either come through as an instant manifestation of something kind of scary, or you could come in and your vibration will be a match to some place darker in nature, and in that case you may find yourself traveling to an undesirable location. Personally for me, I don't have a whole heap of experience within what they call the lower astral realms. simply because I just don't hold my vibration there. So when I astral travel, I'm always happy, I'm always singing, I feel powerful and strong, I'm always helping people, and I really lead with my heart. And so I find that I'm just not a vibrational match for those lower planes. However, I have experienced an afterlife area where a bunch of people were congregating, and these people had had very traumatic life experiences. And this was probably one of the more negative experiences that I did have. It wasn't frightening or anything. I still felt very much loved and protected. However, there were definitely some unsavory beings within this area, and what they were manifesting was not very nice. So in waking reality, these people would have come across as very threatening, maybe even dangerous, and basically their life experiences had done a lot of damage to them, and they were still trapped within that trauma. A lot of them, I think, were probably acting in an even more extreme way than they had done in the physical reality, and this is because they could and they wanted to. So they were harming themselves, they were harming each other. A lot of them were heavily armed, and yeah, it was just a really dark place to be. In the center of this area, there was actually a treatment center that had been set up. So for these people, there was the option to receive healing. However, it was a choice. It wasn't being forced upon them. The only reason why I ended up in this part of the astral was because I had set the intention to connect with someone who had passed on, and they were very much a part of that group. Now, luckily for this person, they had chosen treatment, so they were in the healing center. They had guides and helpers along with them, just helping to aid them in the transition from the trauma of their physical life experience. So the astral is not all light and bubbles, just like the physical reality isn't all light and bubbles. But the good thing is that you don't have to experience anything you don't want to. If you don't like what you are seeing, then you can just leave. And that's an option that we don't always have within the physical reality. The biggest thing is that nothing can physically harm you, and mindset is everything. With this in mind, the one true danger of astral projection is to do with mindset, and it's to do with your psychological well-being. If you are someone with an underlying psychological condition, or someone who is not sound of mind, then maybe astral projection is not for you. So I'll give you a personal example. Now, before I started astral projecting properly, I was a long-term sleep paralysis sufferer, and I had really bad sleep paralysis hallucinations. And I use that word lightly because I think sometimes the word hallucination comes across to mean not real, when in fact anything you can experience is a real experience, right? And so although negative sleep paralysis experiences are usually caused through a manifestation of fear, they're still very much real, and they're impactful to those who experience it. For me, my sleep paralysis entity liked to scream really horrible things in my ear. In this stage of my journey, I had no idea what sleep paralysis was. I didn't realize, not even the slightest, that it could be a manifestation of my own fear. I just thought that maybe my house was haunted, or maybe I was haunted. I don't know. Keep in mind, I was only 17 at the time, and I had had a very traumatic upbringing. I had no contact with my family. I was studying during the day and working nights. I had an overall very unhealthy lifestyle, so my psychological well-being was already on the decline when I started to really experience the height of these sleep paralysis episodes. From here, I became afraid to sleep, which made things even worse. I became depressed, anxious, paranoid. I had a few manic episodes where I felt like somebody was following me. I was afraid to walk home from work at night. So the toll on my mental health was huge. In this way, my non-physical experiences did become a danger to my psychological well-being. It was a cycle. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I was doing it to myself. So fear creates fearful scenarios. Once I realized this, I was able to transmute that fear and start having more positive experiences. If you are watching this video, then you have something that I didn't have back then. And that is a resource, what not to do of sorts. You're not going to go through what I did because you have the information and you can hold yourself in a more positive space. You can also discern your astral experiences by asking, what were my thoughts and emotions within that moment, and how were they impacting what was perceived? Because there is a subjective and an objective side to everything, even your waking reality. Now, there is just one other thing that I do want to cover that comes up quite frequently in the discussion of astral projection dangers, and it's the idea that when you astral project, you leave your body free to be possessed by a negative entity. This is completely untrue, and again, it's usually peddled by people who have no astral projection experience whatsoever. First of all, everyone projects. Not everyone does it consciously, but everyone does it. And if that logic was legitimate, it would mean that when you switch your conscious awareness from the physical waking reality to your dream body reality, that your body would also be left open for possession. And that's just not the case. Think of the physical reality as a projection point in itself. The physical body is not you. It's not who you are. It's just an avatar that you are choosing to hold your conscious awareness to for the purpose of expansive experience. You are a multi-dimensional spiritual being choosing a physical experience. This physical body is the avatar. You choose it, and you choose all the limitations that come along with it, including how long you occupy it for. Now, there are some people who can operate in both the physical and the astral at the same time. I myself have only done this twice, where I've been out and I've been able to speak about my experience at the same time. And I've also had the dual awareness experience, which is basically where you can see or you can perceive from both the astral body and the physical body at the same time. But I have heard of other people who have been able to fully animate their body, so for example, get up and go to the bathroom, while still holding a piece of their consciousness astral side. Tom Campbell calls this parallel processing. So it's not that you're one or the other, in or out. Usually when you're astral projecting, it's just a matter of holding your awareness within the wider reality system. Now, there are a few people who are able to share their vessel, and this is done through astral projection. So what I'm talking about is channeling. So take for example Daryl Anker, who explains how he volunteered to be able to bring through Bashar. So this was done via an agreement. It was a free will choice. There are also people like Rob Gauthier, who talks about the fact that when he channels Treb, he's off fishing on Treb's planet. So what he's doing is he's shifting his consciousness on the astral level to make way for Treb to come through and use his vessel. There's always an agreement that is made between the channeler and the entity that is coming through. And also it takes a lot of energy for these entities to be able to come through. So this is not something that happens long term, like some kind of crazy possession. These entities can't actually come through for long extended periods of time. I myself have not seen or heard of any evidence of negative beings coming through in this way. I'm not saying it's impossible, it's just quite rare for people to be able to channel in the first place. And like I said, there is a free will agreement aspect to it, and it also takes a lot of energy for these beings to be able to come through. So channeling is something that I find quite interesting. Astral projection can lead to channeling, so that's definitely something I kind of want to maybe explore in the future. Whether or not I will get to experience that in the future, I'm not sure, but it's certainly not something I'm afraid of in any way, and you shouldn't be either. If there's one thing you can take away from this video, it is that the only thing to fear is fear itself. Fear is never helpful. The human consciousness is actually very powerful, and nothing can harm you in any way unless you allow for it to do so. Raise your vibration and allow your astral experiences to be charged with love and fearlessness. It's not hard. All you need to do is step into your own light and trust yourself. Trust that you are safe, loved, and protected always. And when you do this, you will truly understand your power as a multidimensional spiritual being. As always, thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate you so much. Happy travels, and we'll talk again soon.